A burnt child after watching another bedtime movie. I turned off the TV and promptly fell asleep. But I wasn't destined to sleep for long. At about 5:30 in the morning, I was awakened by the noise near the windows, where a parrot was peacefully sleeping in its cage on the floor. I opened my eyes and realized that I had spent the whole night in a rather strange, even for myself, position lying on my back. My body was diagonal to the bed, and my head was hanging off the edge of the bed. My neck was terribly stiff, and it was clear that I couldn't get up just like that. Slowly I looked up, and I was horrified. There was a black child sitting right in front of the parrot cage with his back to me. He was clearly visible. The moonlight that night flooded the room. The child was watching the bird cage. I tried to get out of bed as quietly as possible, but all I could manage was a heavy wheeze of impotence. My body wouldn't listen to me. At that moment I wanted to scream and get up and run out of the room, but I couldn't, because it took a tremendous amount of strength to even lift my head off the bed. After a couple of seconds, I began to argue to myself that this was all happening in a dream. But whatever it was, I could hear the sound of the second hand on the wall clock clearly in the room, and all the objects in the room were incredibly realistic. I don't remember a dream like that. Apparently, hearing my attempts to get up, the child sitting by the cage began to turn around. I was even more amazed. His skin was not just black, it was covered with a crust, as if after a fire, and his eyes were completely white and indifferent. Almost without moving his lips, the child whispered something. I couldn't make out what it was, and looked at me point blank. I cannot tell how much time passed from the beginning to the end of this event, but I had time to consider the baby in its entirety, and to believe in its real existence. It was a matter of moments or minutes from the beginning of the whole damn thing. I don't know, but the moment I began to feel control of my body returning, the baby began to disappear before my eyes. Slowly, over the course of about 10 seconds, his skin and body began to spray across the room in coarse ash and disappear on the fly. I just huddled in the corner of the bed and sat there shaking and trembling with fear. What had happened to me that night? I still can't find the answer to that question. Maybe my vision had something to do with the past of this apartment, maybe something else. The only thing I'm sure of is that I was definitely not asleep at that moment.